Welcome back to the channel. So we are continuing on, and yes, it has been a little frustrating. This is obviously Wednesday, so we're just going to get straight into it. What I'm going to do very quickly is okay. Just want to get rid of the H1 levels. Oh, just gotta wait. Yeah, so it's important that you let go of any historic feelings towards any trades. So obviously the one that I didn't take, which ultimately delivered, which was on Tuesday, so it was here. And just out of curiosity, I just want to just check. It was to there. I just want to check how much did it deliver before the close of play. Let's just have a look. I'm just curious. Did it sort of deliver to? So we're probably looking till around 4 o'clock. Where are we? So we're looking at sort of there. So it actually delivered 3.2. It's interesting. Okay, anyway, moving on. It is what it is. Such is life. We didn't get no tag there. Let's just get rid of the H. The hourly stuff. Okay. Alright, and then we're going to go back out to the H4. Well, in actual fact, no, we're going to go back out to the daily. Now, price action, as we can see on the weekly, we've traded sort of to and through this key price level. So it certainly appears as though this could well be the draw before we see any movement higher. So by this, I mean the BISI. So I just want to have a quick look at the daily just to see if anything has changed. And the answer to that is, well, actually, before we even look at the daily, I think it's important that we go to the next day open. Then go to next session. Go to next session. And then go to next session. Okay, so we're just primarily trading the New York, so that's why we're doing that. And waiting for, there we go. Okay, so everything is traded through the previous weekly low. So I'm going to remove the previous weekly low now because everything has traded through that price level. So it's not. Oh, really? Did I not? Alright, let's just put that in here. Okay. Now we can go to the daily. Okay. So the old low daily, for me, I'm anticipating price to purge through that. We don't have the old low daily on ES, so not so much anticipating that. But what we do have, so we're just going to mark up a couple of extra bits here. We don't have a Sibi or anything of any sort, no, but we do have this old high daily, so that's on Tuesday, so we can assume sorry, bear with me. Let's call it that. Okay. So we've got that level in. So now I want to drop down to the H4. Let's see if Thursday can be good to us. Okay, let's just get the highlighter pen out. So partial potentially. Yeah, that's the low. Oh. Okay, so we can put in previous day's high here. That key price level there. And what we want here is, I don't think, let me just check. Yeah. Okay. So what I do want is this here and here. It's rebalanced. And obviously remember I said about the sea of wick there. Okay. So we've got aligned highs and lows. Then obviously this Sibi here, which was balanced, and that's obviously the data high, which we'll mark out shortly. I just want to okay. So this one to me is the key liquidity pool. Okay. I've formed on the previous day as well, so that's good. Now, I'm just going to mark this as a liquidity pool here. And that could be a key inflection point. So happy with that. Okay. Okay. Right. So I think let's commence with our analysis for today. So IOF. So it's quite clear that this has been to the downside. It hasn't changed yet. Now, obviously, if we see the market violate this or disrespect, if you will, this CBH4, well, that could be the first potential sign of higher prices. However, now we've got this liquidity pool here. If one of them trades to and through, but the other one doesn't, then obviously this liquidity pool comes into play. So currently, relative to both daily, daily and H4, this is to the downside. So I'm just going to put currently, this is to the downside. And we can just pop out to the daily just to take a look as to why. In fact, we can take the narrative from the previous day because it's still very much valid. But also as well from a daily standpoint, we can say old highs have been manipulated, whilst old lows are being displaced through. Okay, which is key. And then obviously, if we drop down to the 4-hour, we can see how bearish fair value gaps are being repriced and rebalanced, or being left unfilled, with the market showing a willingness to reprice lower. Okay, now it doesn't mean that this is going to be lower forever, but there's a good chance that certainly could be the case. So again, let's just go to the analysis points that we want to touch on. Okay, so again, if we look at this, displaced through this low here, and we've got displacements, fair value gap, so supports the lower prices. Okay, so ERL, IRL, which I think we can still maintain the outlook from the weekly chart. Don't think that has changed. So what did we have relative to the weekly time frame? The market purged the old week high, the old high weekly ERL and rejected, with the weekly close below. Therefore, my immediate attention. Yeah. So now, interestingly, in fact, sorry, no, we don't want to take that, because interestingly, we appear to sort of be trading to and through. Now we haven't yet. It's certainly. Let's maintain it until we're proven otherwise. Okay, because we are seeing that rejection from CE. So any high time frame crack and correlation at these lows turns to internal range liquidity. So now what I'm going to add to that is the market is, in fact, no, I'm going to delete the old comment. I'm going to rewrite this. Okay, just so it's updated. So ERL, IRL. The market traded down into the BISI weekly. Where I have noted a rejection at CE. In order to turn my attention to the old high weekly, I would need to see a high time frame cracking correlation at the lows to support higher prices. Otherwise, we could see a continuation into a discount of the current range. Okay, so pretty straightforward stuff there. If we don't see a high time frame cracking correlation, then my assumption would be we're coming lower. Okay. Okay, bear with me. Okay, so now we want to look at SPs. So drop down to the 4 hour. See, the benefit of when you have multiple screens is the fact that you don't have to keep changing the views and all of that sort of stuff. But we're doing this off one, which is fine. So I've noted the clean and clear swing points above and below current price, referencing the previous day's high and previous day's low. This is this is also where near-term liquidity would be residing, and if purged and coupled with an high time frame cracking correlation, could support a high probability trade idea. Okay, important to note that the previous day's high has formed below the true week open, which would reduce the probability of shorts should the market trade there. Okay, but it doesn't mean that there isn't a trade. It would reduce the probability of shorts because of this SIBI here. If we trade to and through this SIBI and through this H4 liquidity pull, then if we get to here, why would the market want to stop here potentially? Wouldn't it be potentially feasible to especially if there was a high time frame cracking correlation down here? If it was certainly there, then wouldn't it be safe to assume that potentially the market it's going to go higher potentially. So that's something for us to look at. Um, um, okay. So that is that. So TO currently all members are trading below their respective true week open, where this would support the idea of high probability longs if coupled by a high time frame Kraken correlation at the lows. Okay, now a Kraken correlation. So for me personally, I haven't seen one since the highs. I don't believe we saw one. Or certainly if they're yeah, I haven't seen a sort of a key liquidity pool. I'm not necessarily talking about PDA SMT, but I'm talking about high time frame SMT. So I have not noted another high time frame Kraken correlation since the high time frame SMT at the highs, which initiated this move lower from above the true week open. In order to frame a high probability trade, I will be looking for a recent high time frame Kraken correlation. Okay, and then we can look at game plans now. So we've got a few because of where we are located. So the obvious one would be, would be with price below the true week open, if the market forms and high time frame Kraken correlation at the lows, in brackets ideally between ES and NQ, this could support the idea of higher prices. So that's certainly one, and an obvious one at that. Okay, now two, so because the market is below, this is specific to the market being below the true week open already. If the market trades up into the SIBI and we note an high time frame Kraken correlation at the old high H4, this could support the idea of lower prices. Okay, so that's two obvious, in my opinion, ideas that could be met. Now, what the important things to note is if the market trades above if all members trade above that old high H4 and close, that would support, in my opinion, a market structure shift higher. However, I haven't seen yet. Let me just go out to the daily. Yeah, I haven't seen Kraken correlation at the lows to necessarily support that. I'd like to see a Kraken correlation here, and if that happens, then we'll continue higher. So that's two high time frame models. In terms of low time frame models, I don't particularly. I'm not. God, hold on. There we go. Not seeing one at present. So we've got our London low. Okay. Okay. And then I'm not necessarily looking at any liquidity pools above. However, we do have okay, so going to mark this one in as key. Okay. Okay. So let's see where we're at. Just want to jump out to the H4. Things are moving a little slowly. Okay, so I sort of missed this one here, so important just to note that. I kind of had a feeling that this liquidity pool was actually a H4, so just want to go and mark it up with what it is, because that could add to the potential strength of any sort of trade idea. Especially if we saw a purge of this liquidity pool but not a purge of this one, and we had a Kraken correlation there, well, that in itself could form a very high probability trade idea potentially. Okay, let's I don't believe we've got any news. I'm just going to double check that. Yeah, no news. So we're going to just pop in our volatility levels. We can stick on the M15 by all means. Okay, and we'll leave it at the M5 until we get to 830, and then we'll reevaluate from there. Okay, so let's step through. So we've got two game plans. So just to recap, if the market trades up in, if we see a Kraken correlation here, so for instance, if ES purges this high, NQ doesn't, then that could be a Kraken correlation. And the other one is if we see purge at the lows, i.e. there, that could present something. So let's see what happens, but like I said, first things first, let's just get to 8:30 and see what presents itself. We're just going to be extremely fluid and dynamic. Bear with me. Is that the right time? Yeah, it is. Okay. Things seem to be running a little bit slow. Okay, so we're at 8:30. So let's just reevaluate what we've got. Not looking for any longs from the BISI at all. Not looking for anything there. Want to see a high time frame crack and correlation. Nothing on the H4 as of yet. Machine's moving extremely slowly. Apologies for that. But yeah, right now we're sort of just inside of the range. So as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing going. I don't particularly have a reason to go down to the M5 yet, unless there's some form of trade idea forming. So again, we're just going to stick to the M15. I'm not sure why this is really grinding to a halt. It just sounds like the old fan is chugging away. Oh dear. Oh, that's not good, is it? Something went wrong whilst trying to display the page. Oh lord. Okay, well, looks like we're back. Okay. So let's continue. What were we on? The M5. Yeah, I'm going to drop down to the M1 in fact. I know it's going to take a little bit longer, but let's skip through. I want to get to equities open. So we haven't got many candles. Okay, so that's traded through. But again, if you note, there was no higher time frame crack and correlation as far as I'm concerned at the H4 SIBI. So I'm not too concerned about shorts yet. And again, if there are people who your models fit the shorts, then be my guest. You should take whatever your model is presenting to you. I want to see the H4 liquidity pool at the lows get purged before even doing anything. So we get into equities open, which currently we're inside a range, and I'm going to move out to that. In fact, I'll move out to it now just so we can see. So we're in a range, actually between these two levels. Old low daily is sort of getting away. I'm going to remove that, despite the fact that I think, oh no, I didn't want to do that. There we go. Okay, just to provide a little bit of clarity. Just want to check the H1. So potential SIBI forming here. So going to keep an eye on that. But first and foremost, we just want to see first, do we see a purge at the lows? That's the first sign of anything. And we want to get to equities open, which we're almost at now. So we'll see the first sort of minute candle explosion, which is now. Let's see what we get. So I'm going to just step in. Right, so we've had potential with, I'm just going to go back out to the hourly. So I'm just going to mark this up as a and we've got NQ trade below. However, okay, so sorry, let's just go back to the hourly. So we've got an hourly purge here, which we've got across all, but obviously the H4 liquidity purge on YM is important. However, remember, I need to see YM confirm that it wants to go higher. That's important. It's not about, because YM's the divergence, so we need to see YM want to trade higher. So we're going to just continue to step through. YM hasn't indicated yet it wants to go higher. So as far as I'm concerned, okay, right, so we have a very small, just going to mark that up there. There. Right, so I just want to check the M5. Now obviously not confirmed displacement yet until that candle is closed, so I'm just going to okay. So we had obviously the inversion, that's just a confluence. I'm going to mark that on this one here as well. And then we've had the M5 imbalance. Which we can mark. Oh dear. Okay. Okay, so let's just go back to the, so as far as the M5 is concerned, I'm content that okay. So are we likely to be unfortunate again is the question. Order block here. so far. Order block on Dow is there. Okay, so we're going to step in some more, finish off this M15 candle. Oh, well, okay, doesn't change too much because NQ could be looking at this here. So click on one. Okay. So I like the look of that. I mean, the only negative would be the previous day's low. We're in close proximity, and you know, the market could want to trade down to that level before we see a purge. And the reality is if it did that, if we took a loss here and it did that here, then we just re-engage the market, right? That's the importance of this. So I'm going to take an entry here. Stop loss at the lows. Yes, we have relative equal lows. But happy with that. Going to move this across. Okay, so I'm going to click through. Let's see what happens. It's always a good start. So we want to identify roughly. Okay, so that high is roughly where we're aiming for. Okay, this high would be a great target for us. That is not a good candle because what it's indicating is we want to go down to the previous day's low. That's not a bad candle. Okay. So we're just going to stay with it. That's part and parcel. It's either going to take us out for full loss or we're going to, you know, manage this trade accordingly. Want to go and see what the M5 is doing before we do that. So we're almost getting to the end of this M5 candle, and that's a pretty good M5 candle. So we've got an M5 order block here. We found support. I mean, it did trade quite low into the on NQ, traded quite low into the CIBI, the M5 CIBI, and it did, if we want to be honest, it did disrespect or violate this. It traded through it and then back. So to me, this is not really holding any real gravitas. So we're getting to the end of the M15 candle. NQ repricing higher. get to the end of the M15 candle. Okay, there we go. So we're at the M15 candle. Now, I'm looking at this, and this is where we. So I'm looking at the. I want to look at the H4. So we've got a couple of levels that we want to be really monitoring here, here, and obviously there. Because although if we're being honest, let's just so we just want to mark this up as a inversion. It just makes it a little bit easier to understand what's going on here. Do the same with this one. It's an M15, which I'm fully aware of, and oh no, don't want to do that. I want this one. Okay, so as I said, this key price level is key. This is this really is the. I'm just going to put that to. We get to 3. Yeah. Okay. Just go out to the hourly and have a look at this one. I think it's just a. Yeah, it's just a H. Okay. So we're seeing now. Just do that like that for now. And but with, as I said, with YM repricing lower, it's sort of, well, we're going to monitor this H4 liquidity pool because that's going to be the key. When whichever gets to there first is when I'm likely to move this trade to break even. So that's going to break even now because we've hit that level. And if you look at NQ has hit the H4. Now, the reason why I'm taking this now to break even below here is because now we are in a situation where we could see a high time frame cracking correlation to see lower prices. And so it's important now to monitor the risk accordingly. I'm just going to move this up to here for now. So it's important to monitor stuff now because this could quite easily come back and take us out for break even, and that's fine because then it shows that, you know. So what am I talking about? Let's just pop out to the H4. So if we're looking now at this H4 level here, we can see that we've purged this level. Now I still am keen to see higher prices, but it just means that we're in a situation now where with so this would be, let's just go back out to the hourly, it might just be a little bit more clearer. So this is the 7 o'clock high, which we've purged. So we have low time. I want to say it's low time frame, but it's not because it's a higher time frame liquidity pool. So it's technically a high time frame SMT we've got here. It could be argued that this is it's not even the London high, to be fair, although it has traded higher from London. So this is why I've moved to break even. And yes, it does strangle the trade a little bit, but I'd much rather be risk averse here, you see, because we're now in a situation where it can quite comfortably come lower, like so. So, unfortunately, was $66 for that trade, which is a shame. Now, what's also a shame is if we're looking at the if we're looking at the order blocks here, obviously NQs is actually down here. We just didn't update the drawing, but look at YM. Now this potentially is forming another trade idea. So now I want to keep an eye on YM again to see if we get a bullish order block confirmed, because it could just be the case that YM wanted to trade down here, seek more liquidity before higher prices. So let's continue. So YM is now, we're going to just put this down here for now. So we've got a potential order block there. We want to see the end of the M15 candle. It does, to me, look as though certainly NQ does not want to trade lower. It certainly looks like that. But I certainly want to see the confirmation from YM before I even remotely look at anything bullish. Because if we went to the 5-minute, as you can see, in terms of, I mean, this displacement here is still supporting price, but you know, there's relative equal lows here. Let's just go out to the hourly. We obviously have, oh, we don't yet because we haven't had that candle closure, but look at the bodies of the candles currently respecting CE. But again, we can see how you could argue that this should be here. We can see how NQ isn't. So keeping an eye right now. Actually, in fact, I just want to quickly take a picture of the so, because now I can take this off. Okay. Take that out. Okay. So let's see what we get from YM, which is not looking bullish at all. Just going to press play. Okay. So now I'm keen to see, well, we've got a bit to wait, to be fair. Okay, that's interesting. Oh, and that's a so already now you can see why I said that liquidity pull, taking it to break even, especially this liquidity pull and this liquidity pull, was so important. Now, ironically, had it traded to that liquidity pull on ES, it would have been a successful trade. But nonetheless, I'm going to just remove these lines for now. And I want just to see a little bit more price action. Yeah. Okay. I purge of this H4 would be very nice. Relative equal lows here would be pretty nice. Gonna press play. Now, what is clear? No, there's no displacement here. Okay, that's fine. There's no displacement. So the short, even though we noted this as a potential trade idea, if you recall, was a I actually think it was a purge of this one as opposed to this one. So yeah, maybe not. Sorry, apologies. Right, so I just want to get rid of all of this stuff now because we're not in that trade anymore. And I want to just quickly see what's H1's doing. Okay, so in essence now, if we get a confirmation of a 15-minute bullish order block, I'd be keen to re-enter. Okay, so we're at the trade execution window now. Do we have M5? Currently, no. Got a small one here, but not on NQ. So we'll just continue. We'll get to midday, see what happens. Okay, it's interesting. Yeah, so previous day's low purged on NQ. We haven't seen any M5 displacement. We do have that level there. Hasn't traded through that yet, so it's actually finding support there. Okay. All right. Going to leave that there. So, unfortunately, not able to get the trade outcome that we wanted. It was a break-even trade in the end. But heading in the right direction with things. We kind of anticipated that the market may... Oh, hold on. Bear with me. BE trade. Just making a note for myself. So BE trade. Yeah, so unfortunately not the outcome that we wanted. We engaged the market. Everything was correct. In hindsight, we could just wait for the previous daily low. That's the key price level that we actually wanted, but nonetheless, we engaged. Unfortunately, wasn't able to capitalize, but it is what it is. Hopefully, you took something away from this one. I thought it was a really interesting session. I think I did a lot of the right things. That is important to my models and my trade and so on and so forth. So happy with that. And yeah, I'm going to leave this one here. I think that's probably enough backtesting for one day. Maybe I'll get another cheeky one in a bit later on today. But going to relax and then come back and potentially record another session, maybe later today or possibly tomorrow. So hopefully you enjoyed this one, and guys, I will catch you in the next one. Thank you.